This is Things Police See, first-hand accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. I'm your host, Steve Gould. Thank you for being here, guys. We recently reached over 600 reviews on iTunes, which is a huge milestone. Love to get to that 1K point, so if you keep rating and reviewing, I so appreciate it. This is episode number 94, so there's 94 in the can here. If you're new to the podcast, you can rip through all those. The content is relatively evergreen. It's just men and women of law enforcement, no hold barred, just telling their insane experiences, and you get to kind of be a fly on the wall for it. So it's very cool. Every interview, I'm always blown away. I feel like it's a great privilege to host this podcast. So I think you're gonna like it. The podcast is got some opportunities coming up. I think I'm gonna try to publish more often if it's possible to get up, instead of doing every other week, maybe try to do every week. I'm right on the cusp, the numbers wise, where I'm being approached by people that wouldn't mind sponsoring the show and ad stuff, and which I'm very careful with, because I typically only team up with people if I know the company and if I know that the product is awesome. So I'm right there, but also, a lot of you know about police work, and a lot of you are cops yourselves. I also work 60 plus hours a week. So it's tough. It's tough to tell you guys I'm going to make a commitment to do it once a week. I don't want to fail you, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get more content out more often and have this kind of be a bigger part of my life. I get tons of great feedback from you guys, and I don't see any downside to it. So I'm going to try to get on here more often and do stuff. Send me an email, steve@thingspolicec.com. Let me know what you want to hear. More guests. You want to have guests back? Do Facebook Lives with guests favorite guests that you want to hear. You want to fire some questions at. You want me to answer. I get a bunch of questions a lot in emails. I got to answer listeners' questions. Any ideas? I'm open to it all. I'd love to hear from you guys. So Steve@thingspolicec. Go ahead and reach out. Let me know. Show sponsor, Hero Inc. back sponsoring the show once again. Do you have a fundraiser coming up? Putting together an event and need something to help market it? Hero Industries has you covered. Hero is known for their cute and adorable canine Hero plushies and their stunning challenge coins, but that's not all they have to offer. Hero also offers custom bottle openers, lapel pins, cigar cutters, tactical teddy bears, and custom badges. Any logo, any badge, any size, any shape. You pick how you want it, and they'll do it. Just send Hero your logo and how you want it, and Hero makes it happen. Hero's excellent customer service makes it easy for you to design your item and offers a variety of accessories to pair with your order. Hero Industries has been working with law enforcement, government agencies, and canine handlers throughout the U.S. since 2000 by providing top-notch service with amazing detail and one-of-a-kind products. Check out Hero Industries on Instagram @Hero_Industries_Inc. or cruise their website at www.hero-industries.com. Fantastic company. They make great products, and most importantly, mom and pop owned, and they're pro police. So I can't recommend them enough. And thank you for continue the sponsored show. They're fantastic, and they will not let you down. All right. Without further ado, let's get this man on here. This guy's a fan of the show. We chatted for a while, back and forth. We ended up talking on the phone for about an hour, and just because he was a fan and wanted to connect. And at the end of the conversation, I said, Ricky, you got to come on, man. What are we doing? You got to be a guest. He didn't think he had enough years, but he's got 5 years on. He's deputy sheriff out of Georgia. And believe me, the guy's already seen plenty. He does a hell of a job, and really, really lucky to have him. He's also on the Civil Disturbance Unit, and he acts on the support team for SWAT. So without further ado, we're going to call him Ricky. And he's deputy sheriff in Georgia. He's active, so that's as far as we're going to go. So let's welcome on Ricky. My brother, welcome.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Not much, man. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm humbled and fanboying at the same time. So
that's awesome. Now, you're active on the job, so are you cool with me putting this on YouTube, or do you want to just keep it audio? I never asked you that.
Let's keep it audio, just in case if brass see it, they might be cool with it. You never know. I don't. You know.
All right. Yeah. Well, you let me know. Well, for now, it will just be.
Yeah.
Most of the YouTube channel is kind of a side to the podcast. The podcast is where all the action happens. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on, my man. So tell us a little bit about your agency. Medium, large.
We're pretty big. We're near a rather large city. In the state of Georgia. We work hand in hand with a few other police departments. We help them out. We're obviously we border a really busy area in another county, so it's always jumping off, man. I would say when everyone's in between road patrol, special operations, traffic, bike patrol, we're about 33 to 35 on a shift.
Wow, so, nice. So, and you are patrolman. You are in the trenches.
Yes, I am just a street cop, man. Just an everyday street cop.
That is what this podcast was made for. I mean, the podcast has so many great episodes. No credit to me, all to the guests. But originally started just to talk to patrol guys and gals, shagging calls. What are you seeing out there? Let's show people what you deal with, type of deal.
Right. Yeah.
So, take home car?
Yes.
Isn't that great? The gas prices?
Man, yeah. I mean, from what I'm hearing, I got family out in California, and we're not paying down here what they're paying, but it's high for us down here. I'll say that.
Absolutely.
We're close to about $4 a gallon, which I'm sure some of your listeners like, God, I wish we could pay that.
Yeah, the West Coast
for here.
The West Coast is up to like 7, 8 in some places, I hear. Oh my gosh, but
forget it. I wouldn't do it. That's
the nice deal about the sheriffs. Usually, if you're a patrol deputy, you get a take-home car. So with you guys, I'm assuming you guys do the jails as well?
Yes. So we have our Detention Division. Our agency, or my agency, does a really good job. Like if you've got no experience and you get hired straight into the jail, you do a few years and you make a good account for yourself, they'll send you to the academy. They'll do it. If there are no spots for you on the road, you'll go back to the jail. But, our jailers, they got their hands full, man. I couldn't do the jail job. Couldn't do it. I couldn't. My hat's off to those guys. I have nothing but the highest respect for them.
So are you guys, back in the day, I understand that California, LASD, I think it's the largest sheriff's department in the country, 10,000 plus employees. They used to make you do jails. I think it was like 2 or 5 years, but I believe they stopped that because as retention became more of an issue, guys become cops that want to be cops. Some guys like to stay in jails. They like that. They don't want to be cops.
Yeah.
But which is fine because we need jailers and we need cops. But for you guys, is it required or can you apply and go to police academy?
No. So in Georgia, it's interesting. Georgia, you can either get hired. There's 2 paths to road patrol here. You can put yourself through the academy.
Like self-sponsor.
Right. You can, as long as you apply to post investigates you, you clear the investigation, you can go to the academy, and then you get recruited out of the academy, and you go straight to road patrol. Or you put your time, you get hired on, you go to the jail, put your time in at the jail, and then your time will come up, you'll go to the academy, and then, when the stars align and the road is short and the jail's got enough people, you'll go to road patrol. So
that must be tough because the jails are probably always short.
I would say our command staff, they really do try to, people who have put their time in, they legitimately, I've seen a lot of jailers go through mandate and then get put out on road patrol. And so in my 5 years, I've seen it. They really do try.
Yeah. I mean, there really is something to be said for a cop that was a jailer first. I was just listening to a podcast my friend Ken Roybal hosts, police applicant background podcast with his co-host Minerva, and they were talking about, they're both Californians, both California cops, and she said the thing she noticed the most was guys that go into the sheriffs and do the jails for a few years, then come out and patrol, they really know how to talk to criminals. Mm-hmm. They really understand these guys, and they can really get right into it. They can really cut through the BS and talk to them. And I said, I never even thought about that, but that makes sense because they're living with them,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So prior to being a cop, I was an EMT, and you're kind of out there on the road running some of the same jobs as cops.
Sure.
So you kind of learn on the fly how to talk to people. But I have seen some of the best street cops are all former jailers.
Yeah.
For sure. Because they already know half the people you're about to lock up anyway. So,
they know them. Yeah.
Yeah, they already know them by first name,
Damn. Yeah, that's funny. All right, brother. Let's get into it. Let's get down to brass tacks.
All right, let's do it.
These are the questions people want to hear. I want to hear about your first hot call. First hot call for Deputy Ricky.
Oh, man. So my first hot call, so right out of the academy, I got hired on with a really small police department in a very small town in a rural part of Georgia, right?
Sounds like my kind of place.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm talking from the chief on down to me, the newest guy. There was 10 of us. All right. So I was working a night shift with another guy. I was probably 2-3 weeks out of the academy, still riding with someone. And we get tones dropped in the middle of the night. I mean, it was the kind of night that it was just dead. And the call was the complainant. It was a 911 hang up. Our victim had a gun put in his face and was forced to hang up the phone. Ooh. But before that happened, dispatch was able to get an address and things like that. So obviously, this is my first time cutting the lights on and knocking the carbon off the engine, buddy. We're going. And it was in this rougher little part of the town, or air quotes city, and it was referred to as the trailer park. And so, we get there. My partner, he's got more years on the job, obviously, than me. He jumps out, and I'm opening the door, getting out of the car. And it was the first time in my life where, everything slowed down, but it was going really fast. And everything inside of me was like, you're a moron. Stay in this car. What are you doing, man? It's like someone should really call a cop. You're like, oh, wow, I'm the cop.
Right. What have I done?
Yeah. So we're trying to get to the trailer, finding the trailer. We don't know if the gunman's out in the trailer park. So obviously you're making a tactical approach trying to get there. Long story short, you get in the trailer. Nobody knows nothing. Nobody, so it turned out to be nothing on our end. Not to say that someone didn't have a gun pulled on them, but no one there was willing to cooperate. So we cleared up no action. We, I think my FTO that night did a little informational report on it, but that was the first time, man, that the pucker factor was strong. That's the first time I'd ever ran towards someone who potentially had a gun. So yeah, I was nervous, to say the least.
I might have to change the question to the pucker factor. What's the first time you experienced the pucker factor?
The pucker factor. Anyone who's been on this job knows what the pucker factor is, man. You couldn't get that night, man, you couldn't have got a grease BB up my ass. I was so nervous going to that thing.
That's funny, man. I know it's crazy when you go to those first calls when you're new, and physiologically what you go through, and your large muscles in your body, like your legs, you could have little jumpy legs. You get out of the car, because you are. I mean, that's why people give accolades to cops, because you do go to things that people don't want to go to. I have so many friends that, and I've always been a smaller town or smaller area cop, that I tell them the calls I go to or what happened this week, and they're like, I really wouldn't want to do that. I just, that sounds terrible to me. Like to them, it's really scary. They're like, I don't want to deal.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with death, accidents, emergencies. I get it. Like they don't want to be the guy to show up and be like, I'm in charge of this. Let me help you.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they say there's all these studies out there, and it's like, you know, a beat cop, like a normal cop, like you or I, who just shags calls. We're out there serving the public. We will go to like 100 times multiplier the traumatic incidents that a normal person goes through. I mean, a normal person, and I got to experience this for a little bit when I took a little hiatus and worked civilian jobs. And it was palatable how relaxed I always was. Nothing stressed me out. I was like, 9 to 5 job. I'm like, my adrenaline never spiked once. Mm-mm. It just never. I never had that oh shit moment.
Right. Yeah. I've had people that much the same. I've had an acquaintance of mine who was like, I literally just could not go towards some of the things that you're asked to go towards. It's like, how do you do it? And I'm like, well, it's not comfortable by any means, but I don't know. Those of us who are just made to do the job, no explanations needed. For those who aren't, no explanation will do. You know?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and it still happens to me once in a while too when you're on your way to that messy call or that call that you know is going to be just a headache. You're like, why am I doing this? This is going to be such a pain in my ass for.
Yeah.
But then it's almost like, you know, the next day you wake up, your brain resets, you're happy to go to work. And that's how you know, I'm probably made for this job. Because, you know.
Well, that's the thing. That's the redeeming thing about the job is, you know, you'll run, 10, 15 calls in a day. Every one of them's bull. But then that radio's going to hit and something hot's going to pop off. And you're like, this is what I had a lieutenant say, we get paid for the BS calls. The hot calls we do for free. You know,
that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's true. And that's what I enjoy about the job, man, is, you know, I work a really busy beat. So it's never the same. You know, keeps you on your toes. But then again, like I haven't stepped out into the civilian world since becoming a cop. So I could, but I'm guilty of looking at civilians now and going, how does this stress you out? This is nothing, you know? So I don't know.
Oh, believe me, it's sweet, man. When you're done and you retire and you take a little gig, some other gig that's not police work, you'll be like, this is nice. This is good.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but I'm super, super grateful for having that experience because, this job kind of tugged at me a lot while I was not doing it, you know, because it's great not to be dealing with the things we deal with sometimes, but also in a weird way, you miss being a cop. Like it's hard to describe.
Yeah.
It's really kind of hard to describe, but yeah. All right, brother.
I would say that anytime someone's dealing with a burnout or whatever, a break or a change of beats or assignments can really get the juices flowing. You know, I had my own little break from the job in 2020. I was out of work for 6 months because I got sick, but that 6 months I was out, I was chomping at the bit to get back.
Yeah,
you know?
No, you're absolutely right. The police work's so dynamic. There's so many different specialties and jobs. Hopefully, you're working for a supervisor, direct supervisor, or middle management that understands that and is like, hey, you know, Ricky does a good job. He's talked to me that he wanted to be a firearms instructor or whatever. And that class is coming up. Maybe he'd like to go to, like, that's super important especially for patrol guys. Give these guys some specialties. Heaven knows we need these specialties filled. There's so many.
Right.
I mean, sexual assault investigator school, all the animal stuff, like you name it. There's specialty schools you can go to sharpen. And I remember I went 5 years in. I got sent to polish the badge. It's like a seminar thing, but it's made, you know, you go into it not knowing, like, oh, he's sending a few of us, and I know, so we're all around the same academy dates. Oh, it's like it's a class 4 guys who are 5 years in. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
the learning curve's 5 years. So now you're kind of like a full-fledged cop now, but you might start dipping with what you're doing. You might start,
Right.
you're not detective. You haven't made sergeant. Maybe you're not that motivated. So
Right.
there's this school, and you know what? It worked. It was a good class, and you get to go there. And the agency I was at, I was oftentimes, in the absence of a sergeant, I would be in charge. So OIC, officer in charge of the shift, because we didn't have enough sergeants. So this school kind of addressed that position, and kind of groomed you for wanting to apply to the next step, because they always want to get people interested in being supervisors. So.
Right.
Yeah, that's a real thing for sure. That kind of like burnout. So it sounds like for you've got some specialties going here, which is good.
Well, yeah, I volunteer for a lot of the things because I've always
volunteer or voluntold.
A little both, but I don't mind, because I've always felt like if you make yourself an asset, be the guy that the agency can depend on, trust. If they're like, hey, we've got this coming up and we got to get someone to do it. And if you're the guy that they know that they can trust, you're the go-to guy.
Yeah.
Then that sets you up for a nice future, rather than the guy that just runs calls and cashes a check.
That's so true. Because we all work with guys like that are like, they're just watching the clock the whole time, can't wait to shift to end, and they want nothing extra. Nothing.
Right. Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to do those things is because, I don't know, I've always thought this career is going to be over before I know it. It's gonna fly by. Yeah. And do you want to look back on your career when your grandkids are talking to you about it and want to hear some more stories, and you just told them, hey, man, every day I just grabbed shade and waited for the tour to end, or just go out there and get it, Right.
So I did everything I could to avoid work.
Right. No, I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be that guy that that worked hard and could be trusted.
That's good, Ricky. That's awesome. That's really you're an asset to your agency, I'm sure. That's awesome. So, can you describe the strangest or most bizarre thing you've dealt with so far?
Yeah. This actually happened not too long ago. I responded to a burglary in progress. The complainant saw a preteen teenager standing in her closet while she was sitting in a chair in her bedroom. Weird. And called 911. And I got there within 4 minutes of the complainant making the call. I actually beat her to the house. Like I got to the house, was out on the side of her house while she was coming out. So, that's how fast I got there.
Wow.
And she said, I was sitting in my room. I looked to my right, and there was a boy standing in my closet. He looked terrified that I guess caught him there.
What?
She described him to a T, and she was like, I said, take what you want, get out of my house. He said nothing. So she tried to communicate again. He said no.
How old was this woman?
She was probably early 60s. Sound mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So she says, all right, you won't leave. I'm going to call 911. And she said all the boy did was just step back into her. She had a walk-in closet, and she just said he stepped back into the closet, and she lost sight of him. And
oh my gosh,
all that was happening while she was on the phone with dispatch. Dispatch is already sending me. I'm already on the way.
Right.
So I get there. My partner gets there. She's telling us exactly where she last saw him. We go clear that whole house. I'm talking under beds, crawl space, attic, every room. There was no one in that house.
Weird.
I said, ma'am, are you sure? She was shaking.
Yeah. So she's not making this up.
Right, man. Like, look, I've been on the job. I know, we call them 1096s here. Someone in the elevator don't go all the way up. And
right.
She was not that, man. we checked everything. And in the amount of time that the call came out and the time that I got there, it did not leave enough time for someone to leave the house. According to the timeline that she said, man, the only thing that I could do, man, is like I told that lady, I was like, you sure you don't have any haints in your house? Like, I don't know what else this could be, you know?
Have any what in their house?
A haint. So I'm sorry. I'm originally from Appalachia. A haint is another term for a ghost.
No kid. We're in Appalachia, like Tennessee or?
No. So I'm from the far northwest corner of South Carolina, near Clemson, Walhalla, Oconee County.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah. So, a haint.
I like it. I like picking up new words.
Yeah. But I mean, just the amount of time that I got there, she got out of the house, what she described, where he was. We went there. We left no stone unturned. She couldn't believe that we didn't catch. I was like, ma'am, there's nobody in your house. And, you know, as adamant as she was, her husband got there. We went and walked back through the house. I started getting creeped out in the house. I was like, this woman's got a ghost in here. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So that was a weird one. I will say that was a weird one. Yeah.
That is weird, dude. Wow. And was not early onset, and since you've not been back there for any weird calls or anything?
No, we had no call history of that house for any, like, just, you know, the frequent flyer that sees things, has a mental illness or early onset dementia. It was nothing like that. We've got nothing before nor since. Wow.
Yeah. I had a woman who initially we thought was legit. You know, it was a time when they were doing the census on Cape Cod. So I don't know when the last time they did the census was, but it could have been 10, 15 years ago. But anyways, so there were people walking around, kind of like knocking on doors. And this older woman called us and told us that these census takers were looking at her windows, you know. They're like these. She was like, they're Asian, just pair of Asians, and they wanted, you know. I'm like, oh, they're like they're census people, I guess. I'm like, oh, okay. So go back the next night. She's like, there's Asian. Now it's 2 a.m. She's like, these Asians won't leave me alone, and the dispatch is like, I guess the census people are back there. It's a pair of Asians, and I'm like, I think something's wrong here. And sure enough, I go there and she's like, they're running around the ridgeline of my roof and they're peeking in my windows. And I was like, oh no. So it's come to find out she had, I mean, it's alarming. I'm not a doctor and I don't know stats or anything, but just from working, there is an alarming amount of people in their 60s who have early onset dementia, which it almost screwed me up in an alarm call where I had a guy who was like 62 in a garage, like mashing the security, trying to shut the alarm off when I showed up, and was kind of agitated. Like, and it looked like he like broke in, and the builder ended up showing up. They were remodeling the place, and it was his dad. This guy's like 40 and he's like, my dad has early onset dementia, and it was like, it caused a real big problem because he was like talking nonsense and had no good reason for being there. Wouldn't give me his ID. You know what I mean? Though, right. But he was 62. So I've run into that. I don't know, 4 or 5 times.
You work nights though, right?
This is when I was working overnights.
Okay. So, I mean, if you're familiar with sundowners, you know, people who have early onset dementia or dementia during the day, you know, they're not as bad. And once there's something about it, once that sun starts going down, it gets worse. Confused. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you look it up, sundowners, man, it's a real thing. That's why, you know, we see it during the day, mostly what we deal with, because I work straight days. So for me, like if they walk off from their care facility or from their family member, you know, obviously we do everything we can to find them, and
sure,
we've always found them, so far, knock on wood. But that sundowners is a real thing, man. It's weird.
Yeah, I have heard that before.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, it gets dark and it's almost like night blindness. Nighttime comes out and
I don't know what keys it up, but I had a family member that had dementia, and it was almost like during the day they were almost okay. They'd get confused, get lost in conversation, man. Once they hit about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, man, they started getting out there. You had to make sure everything was getting locked up or they were going to take off.
Yeah. I can remember the first time I ever experienced somebody with dementia. I was a kid, and for Christmas, we would go out to Lexington City, Paul Revere and all that, right outside Boston.
Oh, yeah.
Where my mom grew up. So we'd go up there, and my uncle's parents loved shellfish. So my dad would always bring them like, Little Necks quahogs on the half shell with cocktail sauce. And I remember going there at like 12, and I was not given the heads up that Mrs. Palm was her name, was starting to slip, having a few problems. So I remember being at the kitchen table, and her and Mr. Palm, sweetest people, so kind, and she was always a sweetheart. And we were eating the shellfish, and we're about to leave, and she looks right at me, and I'm 12, and goes, "Who the F are you?" And I was like, I was a pretty good kid. I was not accustomed to adults using the F word at me. And I turned white as a ghost, and Mr. Palm, he corrected her sternly. And he said at nighttime, it gets worse, and that was my first experience with it. Sorry, I went off on a little tangent there, but you really jarred that memory, and that was it is such a it's such a bastard, that dementia. It just robs your family of that person. This person who had dignity. You get them. As a cop, you'll get them on their front lawn in their bra. Yeah. Somebody in the community that was great, and now it's, man, Ricky.
And the thing, it hits every walk of life, man. You'll see a 4-star general. You'll go in his house, and he's just wallowing around like a baby. It's a son of a bitch what that stuff does, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, brother. Let's get on to question 3 here. Your most intense or terrifying call so far?
Ooh, I've had a few of those, man. I would say I've got 2 that stand out.
Lay them on me, baby.
All right, so we had a 1080 coming out of the next county, which is a chase. It was the county next to us, and then we picked it up, and they were suspects involved in a drive-by. And we're on the interstate. I-20 runs right through Georgia. And I know we're going every bit of 120, 130 on the interstate chasing these guys. GSP pits them. And so they go into the guardrail. Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby. That's serious.
Them state boys don't care, buddy.
Yep.
So that was intense. That was probably, I've been in a lot of chases, but that was the fastest and I literally had just made peace. I was like, if anything goes wrong, I'm dead, because there's no coming back from 120, 130, So the next one,
but let me ask you for chases in your agency so up here, if there's a chase, usually there's there'll be radio silence, and that it's like a code 1. You have the channel, and nobody's going to do a motor vehicle stop or something. There's a chase, and then for the state, a lieutenant will come on and you'll report. The cities will report speeds and location. For us, we'll notify our chief or a supervisor, and they'll do the same. So we've shied away from high-speed chase. I mean, it's almost, unless it's a violent felony, if it's just like they're fleeing because they're unlicensed and it gets over 70, they're pretty much, they're
right.
Forget about it. So this obviously this was a drive-by shooting.
Yeah. It was obviously a violent felony.
And are you guys calling your speeds back when you're going? Yes.
So how we do it, if you tell like Central, I'm in a 1080, they're going to go ahead and restrict the channel. Your first thing you're going to do is you're going to give obviously locations, speed, direction, traffic conditions,
right?
And if you can, your charges. And at that point, a supervisor is going to make a decision right there, either break it off or keep going. Me personally, where the beat I'm on, it is so densely populated, the roads and everything. Man, it's really, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Once you can just get the vehicle information, just call it off. Stay with them long enough to just get that tag and everything, and then just end it. It's not worth it unless, like I said, it's a violent felony, and we, God be with us. We got to do what we got to do.
Right. It's not worth the risk to the public otherwise.
Right. If you've got the information, you got the owner of the vehicle, I mean, we can just get them another time. It's not worth hurting other people.
Sure.
But it was someone else's chase. They had shot at people. One of them actually was shot also in the car.
Oh, geez.
So, that was something. Hey, just say your Hail Marys and get to work.
That's fast. I mean, I remember as a kid doing, in a cruiser, I've probably done 110, 115. As a kid, I had a Trans Am GTA, Grand Trans Am with the gold rims, super cheesy. Cocaine sled. But I did me and my buddy did 130. And as soon as we got up to 115, it took forever to get to 130 because just the air, the wind, just all of a sudden the motor, and that's a 350 with a turbo 400 transmission meant for speed. But as soon as we got to 115, it was it got up there, but it took some time. And oh my goodness, anything you do at that speed, you shouldn't even touch the brake. If you touch the brake, you lock them. And if you move, it's got to be just a hairpin, adjustment. Those speeds are scary, man.
Right. That's the first and I hope the only time. But the situation called for it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's life or death.
But once they got pitted and to get stopped, I had really, never really drove at that speed and don't want to again.
Right.
But to get stopped, but everything worked out. We got stopped. Me and some guys, we got the driver out of the car, got him in custody. The other shooter, he took off in the woods, and great cop work by everybody around. They got the dog out there, and they got him, and
nice.
Good guys win.
Yeah, those speeds are when you drive in your car, you're kind of laid back. Those speeds are like this, windshield.
Oh man, it felt like the car in my patrol car was just floating. It just felt like just. I was. I've heard 100 times, don't outdrive your capabilities. I never felt like I was outside of my capabilities.
Right.
But I will be honest. I was getting close to saying this ain't worth it for me.
Right.
There's more than just me in this chase. But it all worked out. It all worked out.
Thank goodness. Thank the good Lord.
So I would say the other one, so there was a little bit of miscommunication between the complainant dispatch and how the call got dispatched out. It got dispatched out as a robbery in progress of a gas station. So my beat, on my beat is the interstate. I have an exit, a very busy exit with a lot of hotels, motels, gas stations, truck stops. And that area keeps me busy.
I bet.
But it got called in as one of those gas stations were getting robbed by a worker in the store. I'm 2 minutes away, and it's getting called in. There are 3 suspects in the store. And my whole time, I'm running code, and I'm thinking in my mind, I was like, what is the right tactical approach to this thing? And it's I know I have 2 minutes to get myself ready to get in a gunfight.
Yeah, that's quick.
You know, like
usually you have a little bit of a ride.
Right. No, I was there. Luckily what happened and the miscommunication was they were robbing the store. However, there was the video poker machines in the store. They had tools on them to like one would try to distract a worker. They would unlock the video poker machine, reach in the cash box, take like a wad of cash out, close the machine, stuff the money. So yeah, so I get in the store and I'm looking around and I'm like, well, it's clearly not getting robbed. Like I see the civilian traffic going in and out of the store, and I'm like, well, that's my first cue. Like it's not getting robbed at gunpoint.
No one's alarmed here.
Right. So I get in and they're like all pointing over at those guys. So, I get them and all of it. Long story short, we got all three of them. All three of them were guilty of sin. We had them on camera. That's how they caught them in the process doing it.
Explain what they were doing again, Ricky.
So they had these multi-tools, right? And they were sitting there playing the video poker machines, but one would kind of like block the view, would stand a certain way and block the person working the register's view. And what they would do is they would unlock the machine, open it up, all the while like still looking like they're playing, take the cash box out, take all the money out of the cash box, put it back in, shut it, and lock it, and then just take all the cash and stuff it in their pockets.
Oh wow!
And there was three of them doing it. So, I make contact with them, and I downplay it all. I still keep everybody en route to me, but I tell them like, hey, what's going on? They're like, oh, nothing. We're just playing video poker. I was like, okay, well, somebody called something, man. And I knew what I had, right. After they told me, I was like, all right. So I downplayed it. Like, hey, I even told him, I said, look, we've got nothing on y'all. Let my partner get here. He can stand with you. I'll go talk to the workers, see what they think they saw or heard. Right. I'm going to cut you loose. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to cut you loose. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to cut you loose. Well, 5 minutes goes by and like no one's there. I'm like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
So, but everybody got there and, we wound up taking all three of them in custody. We got the tools off of them. We got the money off of them. Their cars were out in the parking lot. They had guns in the cars. Like,
oh, really? Jeez.
Yeah, the whole thing, man. And one of them said, he's like, told my partner, he's like, man, your boy tricked me. I knew we should have run. He kept making me think they had nothing on us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the only thing I could do is just downplay the whole thing until more people could get there, because if three are going to run, I mean, or three are going to fight, hey, hang on to one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just hang on to one, hope for the best, so. Yeah, that was the latest. But I had never experienced, 5 years in, never experienced, hey, I'm really about to drive into a gunfight here,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
That was uncomfortable to say the least.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm interested for the laws you guys have do you guys have separate laws for like burglarious tools?
Oh man. So I don't work in CID
because Massachusetts is weird with we have like beanie daytime, beanie nighttime. We differentiate between it's ridiculous. The states around us just go burglary. We have burglary 1 or burglary first, burglary second. It doesn't. Do you have breaking and entering also, or just burglary?
We have burglary.
Yeah, so we also have breaking and entering. Different.
No, we don't have breaking and entering.
Massachusetts is the worst.
So when it comes to cars, you have like enter and auto. That's what I love about Georgia, man. The way the statutes are writ and the way the laws are
simple penal code.
Right. You don't have to do Pythagorean theorem to figure out like.
That's the thing about Mass. We don't have a penal code. We have all these different laws, but no.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I don't think we truly have a penal code. We have, we just have. I mean, it's like B&E daytime, B&E nighttime, burglary, robbery. It's like it's separated into all these different categories. It's a super pain in the ass. That's what I was asking, because we also have like burglarious. It's called burglarious tools that we can charge people with.
That's interesting. I know that in one of the code sections we have the possession of tools and the commission of a crime, or it adds to it.
Right. Okay.
The
similar.
great thing, right? So the great thing about my agency is when you get something that big, right? These guys ripping off these stores. Supervisor's going to come. They're going to call out an investigator.
Perfect.
Once the investigators get there, you just pass the buck. It's theirs, man.
I love it.
Like you write the initial report.
Yep.
But they're taking the warrants. They're doing everything. The only thing you're going to do is drive them to the jail, and the investigators are going to meet with the judge to get the warrants.
Ricky,
you don't even have to do that.
That's exactly how it was at the first agency I worked for. We had detectives and things, so it was like patrolmen could hold on to certain stuff, if like property stuff. The detectives were like, you can work it. I'll help you. But if anything that got like that, detectives would come in, and they're the ones that had the relationships with the DA's office, and they had all those connections, so you didn't have to worry about it. You go back on the road, bam. Where I am now, super rural. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, we have some sexual assaults, rapes going on right now, some other cases that I'm supervising, and I'm talking to the DA's office and the state police and all that. And in a lot of ways, these country cops that I work with, patrol guys, are super well-rounded. Like they know from A to Z with these investigations, including working with the DA, they do all of it just out of necessity, because there's not enough of us, But
so like if you're on a traffic stop and you get dope, right? Depending on what it is, like if it's less than an ounce of marijuana, we just take it on property, or you can write a summons, but down here, there marijuana is sky it's everywhere. But but if you get like meth, heroin, fentanyl, a narcotic investigator is going to come meet you, and he's going to take it over. You just pass it off to him,
right?
So.
Well, you guys are too busy.
My heart goes out to some of, some of my friends. They work at agencies where you got to take it on property, you got to test it, you got to weigh it, you got to do the whole. No, we ain't got to do that. We don't have time, man. Like,
you're going.
Pass it off. It's someone else's bag once they get there.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's the way it should be in a busy area, and that's kind of the way it works. That's why it's compartmentalized that way for a reason. Do you have any interest in getting into investigations, or you sound like you really like patrol?
I love patrol. I wanted to be a street cop when I was a kid, man. Like,
that's the backbone of the police department. That you got patrol.
I grew up. I'm probably going to date myself. I watched Hill Street Blues when I was a kid. And I just wanted to be a street cop. I grew up that's what I wanted to do. I like being on patrol.
That's good. Yeah.
I do want to, at some point when I've paid my dues, and get the opportunity, I would like to go to crime suppression. Like our anti-crime units.
Okay.
I would like to,
that's
I would
fun.
like to
do
go
some
over,
plainclothes stuff.
Yeah. I would like to go over and do that. But all in due time, man. Anywhere you are in life, you're right where God wants you to be. So
I agree with that.
I'll wait for my opportunity. But I do. But being the 9 to 5 CID investigator, that's not for me. I just don't. That would give me anxiety, because like you've got like 30 cases. You take a weekend off. You come back in. There's like 15 more on your desk. It's like I would lose my mind.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree totally. And I love what you said there. It's true. God is sovereign, and he controls our vocation. So you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. How reassuring is that? And that's great.
Oh yeah. It takes all the worry out of life, man. He's got it. You don't. So.
Absolutely, brother. I love that you said that. All right, Ricky, let's, can you hit us with a positive situation?
Man,
it's the toughest question for most cops.
No, man. No, not for me. Where I work, even though it's pretty high call volume, there is no shortage of people trying to pay for my lunch. Or when I'm in the gas station early in the morning, I'm grabbing a Monster to start the day, someone's wanting to pay for it. Like, people where I'm at, the overwhelming show of support is unbelievable. Man.
That's awesome.
The people that go out of their way to talk to us and tell us that they appreciate us. Obviously, there's people that hate us, but
sure, a bunch of jerks.
I just don't. I've got more positive to say, than negative. It's not hard for me to think.
You're working in the right part of the country, brother.
Yeah, I mean, look, I work in Georgia, man. They love us. They love cops. Not everybody loves cops, but I would say if I eat out we work 4 on 4 off.
Yeah.
12s. Man, I can guarantee you at least one day, maybe 2, someone's going to try to buy my lunch or just buy it and me not know. And when I ask for the ticket,
that's great.
Yeah. So there's not this overwhelming, like we're not dealing with what some of the guys around the country are. And, my heart goes out to those guys, and they just need to hold the line and stay in the fight and remember the good that you're fighting for,
Yeah. You know what? It's where I work probably could be categorized as not police friendly, but the people that are extra. You know what I mean? They're right. Really go out of their way to like I've been directing traffic before at a crash or whatever and had a guy stop and tell me, he's a vet, how much he appreciates us, gives me a bumper sticker that says we love our local cops, like that type of thing that it means a lot to us, it's.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been directing traffic and have people ride by and give me the thumbs up, and the car right behind them is flicking me off. I mean, they're here. It's just, I guess, the people that support us go out of their way to be more vocal than the people that don't support us. But I will say, in my area, man, our district attorney 100% has our back. Our ADAs, our judges. I'm blessed to work where I work.
That's great, man. I love to hear that. It's funny that the differences between the Northeast and the South, I think, are pretty big. Now, my wife and we're a Christian family. Wife homeschools, pretty conservative. I think everybody knows that. But we've looked at moving to a southern state because, we've looked at Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, all those areas. We've thought about it. I mean, to be near more like-minded people. And it's just fun. The Northeast the people are hard. And like Joe Rogan, if you ever listen to him, he just says it's because of the weather. Yeah. He says it's because of the weather. People in the Northeast are, they're just always like crunched up, like, it's so freaking cold. But it's weird. Like when we moved into where we live right now, and everybody else I hear experiences of moving into a southern state or even a southwestern state. Neighbors come over with food or to say hello, welcome you.
I've lived in the deep South all my life. That's the culture. That's just what we do. I live in a neighborhood and I can name everyone on my street, like
Ricky.
That's just what we do. Yeah.
We moved in here, and don't get me wrong, I actually love my neighbor across the street from me. The guy's awesome. He's got every Kubota attachment for a tractor you can buy. He's got all the air tools you can think of. He'll take your waste oil, your scrap metal. He's a trucker. He's got a tool. Like he saw me on a ladder trying to cut a branch. He's like, I got a pole saw, Steve. Come on, you're gonna kill yourself. He's like the uncle I need, to help me.
Right. Yeah.
But because of the culture here, I didn't meet him for like 6 months. He's right across the street. The person diagonally, it's been over a year. I don't know this person. I could hit their house with a baseball. It's just like, go into their house. That's it.
So down here, man, like, so I live in a fairly new neighborhood. So when everyone was kind of like moving in, you see people move in, like you just walk over and introduce yourself. That's just
so nice.
Yeah. It's just, when people were moving in, they'd walk over and introduce themselves to us. If we were, out working in the yard, me and the wife and the kids. And I would say I can't live anywhere else, man. That's just the way it is here. Yeah.
It's nice. Southern people are very sweet. It's a shame. Like my dad was a police lieutenant here for 32 years. And when he retired, him and my mom started hitting a bunch of places around the country. And he was beside himself. He goes, I was in Southern California in line at the grocery store, and this woman just started talking to me in line. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, she was so friendly. I'm like, yeah. It's not New England. They're a bunch of a-holes. What do you want? But you go other places, people actually want to talk to you,
Yeah, no. Down here, you got to be careful with your eye contact, man, because if you make eye contact too long, you're going to find yourself in a conversation with a perfect stranger. That's what it is.
That's awesome.
You got to just keep your head down if you want to get in and get out. Yeah.
I think that's so cool. Ricky, I've had you here for almost an hour. I got one more question for you. Appreciate your time. This question is huge for the listeners. We have a lot of people, a lot of guys and gals in the process or in academy, and they're looking for guys like you, guys with some years on the job, to give them some advice. So what is your advice to new police officers or candidates trying to get on the job?
My biggest advice would be I have two things to say. One, for people trying to get into it or going through the academy right now, understand that everything you think that this job's going to be, it's not. The two biggest tools that you need to understand, that you need to be a good listener and you need to be a good problem solver. Because most of the times you're going to go to someone's house because their problem solving skills have reached an end, and it's probably not even a crime that you were called there. They'll just say, I called you because I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so you got to have patience, be a good listener, and be a good problem solver. That's one. I would say two, for people that, once they get a job and get cut loose off FTO, my biggest advice to them is slow down. Learn the job. Get very proficient at things. You got to crawl before you walk. You got to walk before you run. Learn your beat, learn your area, learn all the side streets, get comfortable running calls, get comfortable writing reports, go to classes, build this wealth of knowledge, get this foundational stuff, then go out and be proactive. Because if you're going to go run a gun too soon and you're not sure how to make a case, or if you can't really explain the difference between ARS and probable cause, you're going to get jammed up.
Yeah.
So you slow down, be patient, ask questions. Again, learn the law, learn your streets, make sure your beats buttoned up, your zone. Go just be a good street cop. Crawl before you walk before you run, and all that run and gun and chasing dope, money, drugs, that'll come, but you gotta get there. So be patient.
Absolutely. Great advice, Ricky.
Advice.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. Hey, man, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for reaching out to me. I'm so happy that you wanted to have a conversation. You wanted to chat. And at the end of that conversation, we decided, why aren't we recording this? This guy should come on the show. So now you're part of the family, man. You're part of TPS. Hey. You're going to be up there. It's going to be evergreen. So thank you for coming on, man. What I'm going to do the outro. I'll put you in the green room, and then I'm going to come back on and chat with you for a bit if you got a second.
Sure, man. Yeah.
All right, brother. Guys, that was episode number 94. Ricky, Sheriff's Department in Georgia. Great stories. Fantastic guests. So glad and grateful to have them. Guys, I didn't do roll call. What was I thinking? Let's do some roll call right now. All right. We got Jeremy Woods, Tony Fahey, Jacob Ruth, Rich Emery, William James Long, Deputy William James Long, Samantha East, Gary Steiner, the great Gary Steiner, Richard Wilson, Scott O'Donnell, the magnificent David Diaz, Timothy Wright. Thank you. Guys, I love you. I'm in love with you. Thank you for supporting the show. There's plenty of room in that list, guys. If you want your name read by yours truly, please become a monthly donor or just a one-off donor is fantastic. Anything to help keep the lights on so I don't have to pay for stuff would be great. Thank you guys for joining us on episode number 94. Like I said, going to try to be more regular, see how that works out. Let me shut this off. And if we could, why don't we make this my full-time job and I could become a part-time police officer? We still have those in Mass. Could be a part-time cop. It could happen if you guys like the show enough and you want to support me. That would be great. All right, guys. Till we meet again.